Good morning, everyone. I think I would be remiss if, on behalf of the mayor and the council, that we welcome Councilman Harvey Buchanan back to the podium after a couple of months meeting. Good to have you back, Councilman.
Thank you.
Speech. People do good right in.
You don't want to get me started.
No. Call the meeting of March 6, 2012, the Jackson City Council to order. And we'll call on Councilperson Vicki Foote to lead us in our invocation and pledge. Please rise.
Shall we pray? Holy God, our Father, we come to you before your throne of grace this morning, Lord.
Yes, Father.
Grateful for all the things that you do for us.
Oh, yes.
Father, we're grateful that you have given us Jesus Christ, and therefore we have access to you through him. Lord, we're grateful you've given us this day, another day to love you, another day to serve you, and grateful that we live in a country where we can, even in a public place such as this, pray and praise your name. Father, I ask your blessings on each man and woman in this room. I pray, Father, that you will seek to help us as we seek to serve your people. Give us the wisdom, Lord, and the strength and the courage and the boldness to make the right decisions for this city. And Father, I do thank you so much that you were with those firemen the other day, Father, as they fought that fire that could have been devastating to our city. It could have resulted in the loss of many lives, but Lord, you were there with your protective shield, and we acknowledge that and we praise you for it. And Father, we do thank you so much that you have brought Councilman Buchanan, our friend and our colleague, through this terrible accident. We ask that you continue to watch over him, for you are the great physician. Finally, Lord, we ask forgiveness wherein we failed you. We pray to be better people, Lord, for your sake. And I pray these things in the name of your Son, my Savior, and our Lord, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anita, you can show all council persons present, if you would. Item 4 is approval of the minutes of the February 7th, 2012 City Council meeting. Council members received a copy of those minutes, and if there are no corrections or addition, we'll just go ahead and approve those minutes of February the 7th. Item 5 is invitation for public comment. And if there's anyone present who would like to be heard on any matter under new business, when we get to that item, if you would just please stand or come on up, and the council will be happy to hear you. When we get to that item, if you would. Thank you. We have no proclamations. Item 6. Item 7 is first readings. We have none. Second readings, we have none. So we'll go to item 9, new business. Is consideration of a contract renewal with the Ferguson Group. Council knows that this is the firm that we have retained for a number of years in Washington, even though there are no earmarks available, which they have used in previous years. They do have access to a number of our federal departments that have grants available, and we've been very productive in using them to get literally millions of dollars into our city through some federal grants. So I think it's a recommendation of the mayor and staff that we approve that contract. And this is for a 1-year contract. 1 year. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Question.
Go ahead.
Is the contract price the same as last year? Has it changed?
Yes, it
It
is.
is.
It is. Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any additional discussion? Council, please vote.
And the vote is unanimous.
Item 2 under new business is consideration of the annual audit presentation by Alexander Thompson Arnold, PLLC, on the city's finances for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2011. Well, you guys would come on up.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Mike Hewitt, I've got my partner Jack Mathis here with me.
Morning.
I tell you what, you guys move through your agenda fast. Hopefully you've got your audit there, or you've had it for a while, so you can look at it. I do apologize that we're about 6 weeks delinquent in speaking to you all about this. We had a scheduling issue with your last meeting, so this was the first chance we could, your schedule and ours coincided. You've got a fairly long document. It's well over 100 pages. I won't bore you, or your quick schedule or your quick agenda that you're going through will not be quick, so I won't bore you with a lot of details. But as we always say, that there's a lot in here. If you have any questions at all, feel free to contact myself or Jack, and we'll be happy to go over anything you want if there's something we don't cover today, or if you have a question that we don't cover. If you would, I'll just cover some of the highlights in here. If you all will go to our opinion, which is on page 9. That's what everybody's always interested in, is the auditor's opinion. We take 2 pages there to essentially say that everything looked good. The core of the opinion is, if you look on page 9, is the 3rd paragraph. It says, in our opinion, based on our audit and the report of the other auditor, which we do not audit JTA, there's another auditor that audits JTA, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, business type activities, and discretely presented component units, each major fund and aggregate remaining fund information of the city as of June 30th, 2011. That's a long way of saying that everything was as it should be. The financial statements are a fair representation of the condition of the city. As far as specifics, if you'll flip over to page 21, I want to cover just a few highlights of what's in some of these more condensed statements. I know you all see the fund statements on a monthly basis, so you're used to looking at those. The format of what you get at the end of the year is a little bit different, and it's a little bit, sometimes it's a little hard unless you delve into the note disclosures and do a lot of reading to figure out what is where in these financial statements. There's, on that page there are 5 columns, the 3rd column being a total and the last 2 being component units. One is, which is JEA, and the 2nd component unit is Jackson Community Redevelopment Agency. The first 2 columns represent the sum of the activity that you all are accountable and responsible for. The business type activities, that comprises the landfill fund, which even though the city no longer operates a landfill, there is an enterprise fund that monitors or that pays for the monitoring of the landfill that the city closed out on Highway 70. Jackson Transit Authority is in the business type activities. The operations of the Sportsplex and your community development revolving loan funds are all in the business type activities column. The governmental activities column is essentially everything else. That's the operations of the general fund, solid waste collection fund, capital projects fund, various other smaller special revenue funds. This statement of net assets, this is a little bit, for those of you who are in private business, this is more akin to what you would know as a balance sheet in the private enterprise world. It's got all of the assets of the city on it, including your infrastructure. If you look down at the very bottom, you'll see total assets in the governmental and business type activities totaling $211 million. Now, that'd be really nice if you had $211 million in the bank, but of course you don't, with the vast majority of that being infrastructure assets that the city has accumulated over a vast number of years. If you'll flip 2 pages over, This is the net assets section, or the net worth of the city. You'll see various restrictions there that, where you had restrictions and designations of how your net assets can be spent. A large percentage, almost half of your net assets, in the case of the business type activities, almost all of your net assets are actually invested in capital assets. That's the first line up there, and that's the reason for that to be presented that way is so that you know that these are really not spendable. It's the net assets of the city that are in the streets, the equipment, so forth. It's not anything that is in a spendable form. The unrestricted net assets, which is the very last number on that schedule there, is essentially what you have available for expenditure. Okay. If you'll flip over to page 24, and you gotta flip this sideways. It's a very funny looking financial statement. It's, most financial statements start with revenue first, and then you subtract expenditures or expenses. This is just the opposite. The first column there has expenses. Then the next three columns give, and those are broken down by the various functions of government, public safety, public works, public welfare, so forth. Then the next three columns list revenues that are directly attributable to those activities, those functions. With the fifth column being the net, in most cases, loss that the city has in incurring those activities. That's underwritten then by general revenues such as tax revenues. There is one there, the Public Works, which that's not uncommon because of grants that you get. But you'll see most of them there in the under governmental activities in that fifth column are bracketed amounts, which means those activities do not pay for themselves, which everybody knows when you think about it. And that's the amount of that activity, like for instance, public safety. You got a negative number there of $30 million. That's the amount of public safety expenditures that are paid for through general revenues. Okay. If you'll flip over to page 27, I want to explain one thing as best I can. I've done this several other times with our other clients, and I'm not sure of how successful we've been because it's a fairly complex issue. Some accounting principles changed this last year. I don't know if y'all heard your finance staff make a reference to GASB Statement 54, but that was a new governmental accounting standard that came into effect this last year that essentially redefined what could and could not be considered a special revenue fund. And when you had something that you called a special revenue fund that did not meet the criteria for being a special revenue fund, you have to roll it up into the general fund on your financial statements. And in this case, there is one that is included in the general fund on pages 27 and 28, I'm sorry, 27 and 29. That's included in the, 27 and 25. It's included in the general fund column that you all show on your books as a special revenue fund, and that is the solid waste collection fund. And the reason that's not a true special revenue fund anymore is you all have no restrictions on that fee that you collect for solid waste. It can be, even though you budget it for solid waste, it really can be used for anything. When the solid waste rate was adopted, there was nothing in the ordinance that said this has to be used to pay for solid waste. And that's the one distinction. And I know we've had some discussions with your finance staff about talking to you all about that, about restricting that revenue source. You don't have to. It's just that for financial reporting, that becomes a part of your general fund. And that's why if you look for these numbers in the general fund column in your internal financial statements, you won't see them because what's in here represents a combination of the general fund and the solid waste collection fund. And if If that makes sense to you, then y'all are sharper than some other clients I've explained this to, or else I'm getting better at explaining it, one of those two. As far as our findings, if you'll flip back to page 115, we got a couple letters back there. I'll go through what those are. Okay, this is our report on internal control and compliance. We do not give an opinion on internal control, but we do, as we find things that are control deficiencies, we do report them to you. There was one matter that we'll get to cover in just a minute that we decided, or in our opinion, was a material weakness. It's referenced as finding number 11-01. And this is an internal control weakness. I believe it's been addressed now by your staff, but we'll talk about it here in just a minute. And there's also that same finding is also a compliance issue because it relates to grant management. And we'll talk here in just a minute about what it is. If you'll flip over, let's go on and talk about that, to page 120. We've got this one finding here. And as everyone is aware, Jackson seems to be a magnet for natural disasters. We seem to have had a lot of them in the last decade. And along with the natural disaster comes a flow of money from Nashville and Washington, typically, unless they run out, which FEMA has in recent years. And what happens with that is there's a lot of detailed record keeping that has to take place because FEMA expects to see reports back detailing exactly how you kept up with what you spent. And usually in the midst of a disaster, that's not the logical time for anybody to figure out how we're going to do all this detailed record keeping. Because it's, the record keeping does not directly respond in and of itself to the needs of the citizens. It's just a requirement that's put upon whoever's receiving these FEMA grants by the powers that be in Washington. Anyway, in the flood event that resulted in a FEMA grant in the year ended June 30, 2011, and the prior year, there were some significant losses that the city had that due to the lack of maintaining some records on those. There was a question as to whether or not there was reimbursement that was going to take place. Now, at the time we finished our audit, that was still, the appeal of that was still in process to TEMA and FEMA, and you may still get that. It's just that there may not have been that question had some better records been kept and records about the damage been more current at the time that the disaster occurred. But I do believe that that's being addressed, so I don't think you'll have that in the future. The next item there, summary schedule of prior to audit findings on page 121. This was a finding we had from the prior year, and that now has been corrected. There was some issue with the ERA record keeping for your ERA grants, and that we're pleased to say has been corrected. Okay, that's all the formal findings we have. We did have what we call a management letter that I'm going to let Jack go through that addresses some more minor issues that we did not rise to the level of material deficiencies.
First of all, like I said, good morning. I would like to formally thank, Karen and Al and the rest of the accounting department. We're here, as American Attest, we're here for a few weeks. When we're on site, we're full bore in here for several weeks, and they make our job a lot easier. I know we tend to be somewhat of a little bit of a headache to them at times, but they do a good job of not showing that to us, and that's great. But they've done a really good job through the years of helping us with our audit procedures and documentation and things, and just want to formally thank them and tell you all how good a job they did. Mike's right. As far as the management letter items, we had a few incidental, small items that we did want to bring to the council's attention, management's attention. One of those was, we had several minor problems with cash receipts. With an entity y'all size that has as many different cash collection sites as you do, it's upward of 28, 29 different sites that actually collect cash in some shape, form, or fashion. It's not unusual to have a few minor receipt violations, whether it be 3-day deposit rule violations or voided receipts not being kept intact. So we saw a few of those things. These aren't any more unusual than what we've had in previous years. And quite honestly, they tend to go from one site to the other. We'll point this out, maybe at one site, and that'll be corrected, but then it'll crop up at another site. And again, nothing unusual for the number of locations that you all have. Another one that we noticed, again, while testing some cash receipts, and as you can imagine, we do quite a bit of extensive testing in our cash receipts areas. We noticed that some monies collected for tournament fees, on-site tournament fees at the Sportsplex. Most of the tournament fees are paid ahead of time, but you do have some teams that come in last minute. We noticed that those won't be included in the night deposits with your gate and ticket concessions and things like that. And so we just requested that those be included in the night deposit as well. And I think, again, these things have been corrected as we speak. Another one we noticed was again, cash receipts testing at the city court. What we noticed there was the cash check detail wasn't always being maintained in the computer system correctly. So in other words, if someone come to pay a ticket and they paid with a check, maybe it was put in the system as cash or vice versa. So, what we've asked the folks at city court to do is make sure that we're taking good care of keeping the integrity of that deposit in place. If I pay with cash, make sure it's receipted as cash. If I pay with check, make sure it's receipted as check, so we can follow that process all the way through. There again, we didn't find any money missing or all the deposits tied around everything, but just wanted to make sure we have a clear paper trail there from an audit standpoint with our cash check detail. One of the other items we noticed, again, in doing some testing this year, we had a few timesheets that weren't signed off as approved by the city's, by the employee supervisor, as per city policy. Again, we pointed those out to management. We believe those items have been corrected now as well. The only other thing that we had was we had a couple funds where current year expenditures exceeded the budgeted amounts. Those happened in the police drug fund, the City BG ARA grant fund, the home match grant fund, and community redevelopment fund. Again, we've just asked that management take proper care to make sure that those budget expenditures are not exceeded. If we are going to exceed those, that the proper budget amendments are made. That's the management letter comments. I'd be glad to answer any specific questions anyone may have. But overall, I think it's
Okay,
good.
guys, thank you. Any questions from council? Councilman Wallace.
On the solid waste fund, where it's combined, our bookkeeping records are still keeping that separate
Yes.
for our point. It would be a recommendation from the auditors that we do restrict that for solid waste, or, I'd like to see our audit and our books.
That is your call. I will grant you, it makes the accounting and trying to find that stuff in the financial statements very difficult. We don't like it probably any more than you do. That is your call. In past years, the solid waste fund has accumulated some surplus funds that have been transferred to the general fund. If you restrict it, then you can't do that.
Okay.
It has to be left in there and used
I
for
guess
solid
it'll be
waste.
internal where we decide whether we want to have those funds be used only for solid waste, or if we've
Right.
got the option. If we've
Yeah.
got the option to use it for general government, we've got to leave it the way it is then.
I think now, I believe this last year, the operations of the solid waste fund pretty much consumed all the revenue, so I don't know, there wasn't any surplus, so that may not be an issue going forward. It's just, I know several times in the past, there's been a transfer to the general fund, which, like I said, if you do restrict it, then you can't do that, so.
I guess, as a general rule, we try to charge our rates to cover the expenses to make it wash out, but, okay. The other question I had was on the internal control on the grants. In the previous years, it had been discussed possibly that we need one person in charge of the grants for the city. Is that still kind of a recommendation from the auditors that we do that, or are we better on that now?
That is better. You have one person in the finance department that gets reports from everybody, all the department heads that have grants. You know, you can always improve, but no, that's better than it has been. They don't have nearly as much money showing up in the bank account without knowing where it came from as has occurred in the past. And they always find, when that occurs, they always find out why the city got it and where it came from. But there was a time when somebody from Washington or Nashville would wire money into the bank account, and the finance department would have to go on a search to find out whose money it was. But on that last comment in the management letter, I just want to make one comment on that. Y'all do a very, very good job of handling major budget amendments during the year, as you should. Usually the things we're talking about there are little minor overruns that it's easy to not catch until the end of the year. And honestly, that's why it's just in the management letter. We don't get too concerned about that. What we do like to see is that there's amendments made during the year that cover the major items that you had not budgeted at the beginning of the year, but then decide to spend funds on. And I want to
Okay.
echo what
Any other-
Jack said. You all have a great staff, and they're very helpful, and they're to be commended.
Any other questions?
Yes,
from
Mayor,
council?
I have a question. Good morning. I had a question relative to revenues. It indicates that $0.2 million under budget due to shortfall in interest income. Could you explain why? And secondly, do we need to prepare for that in the future?
Councilman Brooks, that wasn't $2 million in interest. I don't know how you agreed to that. The interest was a couple $100,000 down. And basically, it's because our LGIP is earning roughly 0.25%. It's almost minuscule. That's where we have $17, $18 million. And when we did the budget, no one, at least I did not foresee the rates being that low. But it was nowhere near 2 million. It was about $200,000.
No, I said .2, I'm sorry.
Okay. We're not very far from you guys paying banks to keep your money for you. Unfortunately. And it's, you know, that's just the investment atmosphere that we're in right now. And every other municipality that we do work for was under budget on their investment income for this last year, and it's just, none of them could foresee the interest rate environment, because most of them invest in interest rate sensitive instruments, and nobody could foresee the interest rates getting down as low as they have, which is real good if you're borrowing money, not real good if you're investing money.
Right, I see. My second question is relative to the FEMA issue. About how much money are we talking about when we're saying that there are some funds out there that we're having trouble accessing because of our paperwork wasn't correct?
The largest amount, I believe, was relative to the repairs at Omen Arena. And I might refer to Al, see what the resolution that's in.
They're very large numbers, and they have some very good points that hopefully we will learn in the future. It's about $2.5 million on Omen Arena and about $3.7 million total that FEMA has yet to resolve with us. And every time we seem to get close to getting FEMA in here, we have another set of tragedies, like the recent tornadoes, then reverts their attention to current needs. So it's not lost, it's just that we have to sit down with them and go through things, and that's yet to be done.
And we have addressed those concerns.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes. Sam Dawson and myself and Karen are in direct contact with FEMA. And the last word was that FEMA representatives were going to be down here in February. That's over and done with, and now we have other crisis, so it may be several months. But we have all the documentation to support our case.
Okay, I hope you will share that with us as the process goes, because we are anxiously anticipating those funds.
The difficulty with getting reimbursement for disaster expenditures is most governments, you know, they can't afford to have somebody whose job it is to keep up with disaster expenditures, because you don't know when those are gonna occur, and you don't want somebody sitting around waiting on a disaster. But you need to have people trained who can pull off what they normally do.
Right.
And that is the focus of their job when a disaster occurs, is keeping up with the details and the costs and the paperwork.
Sure, it's important.
And that's a delicate balance. You know, if I had a magic formula about how to do that and do it perfectly, I'd sure share it with you. But, because usually when those things occur, the focus is on looking after the citizens, taking care of the problem.
Sure.
It's not on record keeping. But
Right.
unfortunately, and FEMA used to be much more forgiving on the record keeping, but there seem to be more disasters and less funds to go around. So if they have to start saying no, they start saying no on the basis of, you know, your records aren't quite up
Sure.
to snuff.
Thank you.
I think one other aspect of the appeal, and it is all under appeal, especially Owen Arena, but the other aspect of that is the bridge down south, where FEMA had initially approved roughly $30,000 for repairs for the bridge. No contractor would bid to repair it the way that it was and guarantee the bridge, so we had to come back and inspect the bridge and bid it out, and that cost was roughly $500,000, I think. So all that's under appeal, and hopefully if we get through a few more catastrophic events, we'll get FEMA in here and hopefully be productive in our appeal process. Right now, we have, roughly $3.5 million out. That, how much have we received? Total, Sam, yeah? Okay. Okay, we got less than $1 million out of a $5 million disaster. Okay, any other questions from council? Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Again, I'd like to commend Al and Karen Bell and all the audit and finance and payroll staff for their work during the year and keeping us between the white line and keeping the numbers correct. Item 3 is consideration of a software license and services agreement and a software maintenance agreement with SunGuard Public Sector, Inc.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Morning, Chief.
Here to ask you guys this morning to consider us entering a contract with SunGuard. SunGuard in 1990s was selected by the board to provide the records management system and CAD system for the Jackson Police Department. It was built on a platform that was basically started back in 1980. So you can see 22 years later, this platform was basically just a platform of which there was only data storage alone. We've now gone all across our country to a Windows environment, which means with the Windows environment, there are so many other things that can be done. With the data storage alone, as far as what was called the AS400, that, as it says, the only thing we can do is store data. We can't do anything with photographs. We can't do anything with any other third-party software that we feel might be needed by the Jackson Police Department to meet the needs of this community, because basically everyone everywhere now is in Windows format. In that, SunGuard was the company that was chosen by the council back in the 1990s. What we're simply doing today is just asking for that ability to upgrade the existing system that we have. It's nothing that would require us to go out to bid. SunGuard is, I guess you might say, sole source, or they are proprietary because they're the only ones that can provide this software as they've already provided. So with the figures at hand, as you see that we're being asked as far as this total contract is concerned, we would ask you guys to consider the allowance to enter into this contract, and I'd be glad now to answer any questions you might have concerning the numeric figures or anything else.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any questions from council as to approval of this agreement? Mr. Rom?
Chief, you did indicate that these funds have already been set aside. They were for another area, but the department feels like this is what's needed now.
Absolutely. We feel like this would be better stewardship of our monies that we have. They have already been set aside. And with the fact of it being as antiquated as it is, if we don't move as expeditiously as possible, it could really be almost cost negative, not cost negative, but really would impact us greatly. to say the least.
And Chief, these were the funds that were set aside for radios, but you feel that we're okay with our radios?
What we've done, we've taken some of the money that was set aside for radios, and we've bought radios that we feel like will supply us our radio needs for X number of years until maybe the city goes to market again to maybe revisit our radio situation.
And I certainly want the police to have what they feel that they need. But, you know, it does bother me that we borrowed money and we said we would use it for radios, but I understand a greater need has come forward, and I appreciate you bringing that need to our attention.
Well, the greater
Certainly, if we
need-
need that more than the
Yes,
radios,
ma'am.
that's what we need to do.
The greater need has come forward, but as we looked at the radios and looked at our existing system, we found that there's a radio provider out there now that can provide the radios that we're needing for a third of what we initially projected the cost to be. But when we go to this vendor and ask them to allow us to purchase the radios, they're telling us that those radios that they can provide for us are not backward compatible to the current radio system. So that's why we want to revisit the radio system as a whole to make sure we can get it to the point of upgrade that we need it to better use our money.
Okay, any other questions from council as to this agreement?
Well, one quick. As far as radios are concerned, we budgeted 1.2 million or something for upgrading the radio system. We're spending 370,000 of this. If the price of the radio is going to drop by a third and possibly more by the time we get around to buying them, is that 1.2 million going to kind of handle the upgrade to the system and the radios both possibly, or do you feel like we'll still need more money for radios going down the road?
Councilman Wallace, what we presently have, because of Strategic Communication, who basically does our radio work for us here in the city of Jackson, the gentleman that owned that just recently passed away, so there's actually another company that's been entered into that's out of Memphis, Tennessee, and presently they're here with their engineers and they're looking at our existing system to say I guess you might say just what level of disarray it might be in as far as needs. So what we're looking at and what we're being told by our initial meeting with these people, that it may be a lot less than what we actually considered from the onset.
I think the thing that we think about is, you know, we've borrowed money for radios, so we're hoping on down the road we won't be asked to be out more money for radios anytime soon. And I think you've answered that we probably would not be.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Chief, what do you think the sustainability of our current radio system is? How long do you think that'll be operable and be manageable?
What we were initially told when we came and asked about the radio system, we were being told that basically what we have is getting ready to become a dinosaur and belly up on us, for lack of a better terminology. And we asked this company to come in that Strategic was aware of, and they started looking at our system. The gentleman that heads up this company made us fully aware that he has systems that's even older than our present system. And when I say system, I'm talking about the brains of the radio system, not necessarily the two-way radio that we communicate on. This is the key to it. Our concern was back then as to what we were being told by, I guess you might say a vendor of sorts, is that items would no longer be available to make repair. The gentleman is now looking at it, says they don't see that as being an issue. They feel like there's ample products out there should we have an issue that we can repair the existing system.
And we have the money to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions, council? Is there a motion to
So moved.
approve the agreement? Have a motion?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Council, please vote.
And the vote is unanimous.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Chief. Item 4 is consideration of contract for the construction of Fire Station Number 7.
Bids were received on Fire Station Number 7 on Windy Road. We received 7 bids. The lowest and best bidder is Lubin Enterprises out of Memphis. Their base bid is $1,126,365, and that does include the exhaust system and the bifold doors.
Okay, any questions of Ms. White or Chief Stewart? This contract?
Are we familiar with the company out of Memphis that's doing this, or we check their history as far as, what work they've done before?
The people who will actually be doing the work will be Keystone, and they are here in Jackson, and they've done work with us before.
Okay, so Lubin is just going to be kind of overseeing it, and the actual company that'll be doing
They
the
had
local
the
work is
bonding.
local.
None of the
And
bonding.
my other question, I guess, not necessarily on this, just in general rule, we do make an attempt to use local providers on the majority of the stuff that we bid on, don't we?
We sure try to, and this is a local vendor.
Okay, any other questions from council? Is there a motion for approval of the contract?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second, discussion. Council, please vote.
And the vote is unanimous.
Item 5 is consideration of the contract for the Walker Road Sidewalk Extension Project.
We received 5 bids for this project to extend the sidewalks on Walker Road, and the lowest and best bid is Universal Contractors at $59,939.68, and we would like for you to approve these based upon unit pricing.
Any questions on this contract?
Move the approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion from council. Council, please vote.
And the vote is unanimous.
Item 6 under new business, consideration of a contract with Gov Deals for an online auction service.
Back in 2007, City Council approved a contract with Gov Deals. This was the only proposal received. It's our online auction service. So any of our products that need to be sold are put on this website, and people bid on this. And we would like to extend this contract for another 5 years, 1 year at a time. Chief Campbell is here, and he is over the online auction service, and if you have any questions, he can answer those for you.
How long have we used this method of auctioning? Most of this vehicles, right?
It's everything.
Everything?
2007.
Okay. Any questions of Ms. White or Chief
Chief,
Campbell?
could you just compare the lucrativeness of the online auction compared to what we were doing beforehand?
Yes, good morning, Mayor and Council.
Good morning.
Before, what we would do about twice a year, we would generally hire an auctioneer to come in and sell all types of property items, whether they were police cars, whether they were old desks, chairs, whatever it was. Essentially, we would shut down the Central Records Division, which had about 20-plus people working in it, civilian employees, to essentially catalog and prepare for the auction. The week of the auction, essentially, we would set up tents to put property under, which involved us basically shutting down the building, cleaning to move all the property out on our north lot, which essentially got in our way. It became so cumbersome, we started looking for a way to be able to sell items at any moment. And so instead of warehousing stuff for a couple of months to sell it twice a year, we essentially employed Gov Deals to allow us to use their website to be able to sell anything at any time that we could post it on it. And right now, what we do is we have a clerk that spends maybe a day a week going out cataloging property and posting it online to sell. We require the successful vendor, whether they live in Jackson or whether they live out of state, to come pick the items up. I don't know if you have a copy of it. I can give you a copy of it, but I provided Mrs. White and Rick Henson, who I had spoken with as well, who was interested in doing this, a copy of the last 14 months of all the items that we had sold by list, which included cars, desks, computer materials, things of that sort. I think we sold about $228,000 worth of items. Gov Deals gets about 7%. The city recouped about $210,000. So we think it's working well, and we think it's probably the best way to go for the time being.
And so you're able now not to wait for just one particular
Yes, ma'am.
occasion auction,
Yes,
it can be an
ma'am.
ongoing.
And not
thing.
only do we sell police stuff, we sell stuff from every part of the city, from weed eaters to dump trucks to whatever it may be.
Don't
And
have to
we do it-
store
we
all
post
that
it.
for a year to sell it.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Councilman Wallace?
Couple of questions. On the 5-year contract you're talking about, this is 5 years, 1-year renewal?
Yes.
Does that give us the option to change our mind a year from now if
Every
we want
year.
to?
Every year.
Okay. And the other question, I guess, is the gov deals, they're a national organization, I'm assuming? Is there anybody local that can do the same thing they're doing with the internet? That we feel like we'd get as much money for the equipment, I guess? Or have we looked at bidding
Some
it, or-
enterprising individual wanted to set up a website to do that, I'm sure that they could.
But we don't have anybody out there.
But we don't have anyone that's approached us or bid on the contract to do that.
And this was the only proposal that we received several years ago. No one else was interested in it.
Okay. And the other question, I guess, is you're saying it's easier to do it the way we're doing it now and quicker and more efficient. Are we getting more money by the way we're doing it now? That's the real question.
I think so.
Okay.
And just a quick comment, I believe the chief had mentioned that there was a concern about some seized vehicles of those people coming back and trying to purchase them as well. I believe that's what the chief had said, relative to drug seized vehicles, that some of the people who were involved in that were trying to buy those things back.
We do sell seized vehicles on it, so if we seize a vehicle from a drug dealer, it is going to be eventually on their website once we get an order awarding that vehicle to the city. And only then, when we get an order where the property is awarded to the city, do we sell it. I think we have had an occasion or two where someone who has sold drugs saw their car and said, hey, that's my car. And we pointed out to them, we took it because you were selling drugs.
And that makes it a little bit more difficult with being online.
We haven't had any, I'm sure that most drug dealers don't like us selling their shoes or any property that we would seize from them. But I don't know that it's been an overriding issue.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Is there a motion for approval? Have a motion for approval.
Second.
Second, do we have a second?
Question.
We have a second. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Come on up, Mr. Henson.
Good morning, Councilman. My name's Rick Henson. I am Henson Auction and Real Estate. Been in the auction business for about 30 years. We did the auctions for about 12 years approximately for the city. Felt like we've done a good job for them and have gone online. It's something that's come in play. We have online on our auction site, which is out here on England Lane. We built a facility out there. We have the JEA trucks coming up this Saturday. We sell for them. And we have it online where people can bid online and live. And that's where a lot of people comes and ask me questions, when is the city gonna get it back where we can bid on it? Because they can't get on the computer, blah, blah, blah. But this way they can bid online, or they can come to the auction date that's set for the auction, and we do it twice a month. We do it every second and fourth Saturday. We have the facility out there that's fenced in, the 9.5 acres is fenced in, that we can keep your cars, trucks that you get ready to sell. When they get released, I know you gotta hold them a certain time. We come pick them up, take them out to the lot and sell them out there. And you'd get both aspects of people that's asking me when is it gonna be where they can bid on it again and not be online. So that's why I'm here to present you a proposal that we can do it online plus live, simulcast as they call it, instead of just going strictly online on everything. And we can take pictures of it. We do pictures, we do brochures, we send out 600-700 of these to the customers and vendors. You see the pictures of JEA trucks and everything. We have a color brochure we mail out to about 600, 700, 800 people. We pass those out. Plus, we feel like it's just, we do the Dyersburg, city of Dyersburg. We just got the county of Dyersburg. We bring those cars and trucks out here and sell them, and they're well pleased. I can give you names to talk to any of those to see how we're handling their aspect of it. We have the auction date, as I said before, is every second and fourth Saturday. Unless a special sale or something needs to be happening, we will. But we do have containers and stuff out there where we can store the facility, the items that you have on hand. Plus, clear your lot off if you need to move any of your vehicles early. We can put them on the back of the lot until they're time to sell and bring them up to the auction. And like I say, that's about it. I have a fee structure here if you'd like me to tell you kind of how we do that, or is that appropriate?
Yeah, as far as, yeah.
All right, ours is the fee structure on it. If it's a car, say it's $500 and less, it's $50, flat fee. If we have a 500 and over, it's a flat fee of $100. If it brings 15, 20,000, it's $100 per item. We do have a buyer's premium on the other side, which is the 10% buyer's premium up to 25. If it goes over 25, it's just a flat 5% fee. We have on the small items a 10% fee that, on the smaller items of shoes, tape players, whatever you might have, is a 10% fee there. But on the cars, I think you'd be gaining the money there by having just a flat fee of $100 per truck or car, whatever you might have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Henson. Any questions or comments?
Couple questions.
Go ahead.
You're saying instead of doing it twice a year, you can do it twice a month for the city?
Twice a month, yes.
Okay. And the other question, I guess, if we contract with government deals, is that all-inclusive? Can we do some with government deals, do some with Mr. Henson?
We sell stuff on Gov Deals every day.
Do what?
We don't wait till the end of the month. We sell it as soon
But I
as we
guess
can post it.
what Mr. Henson is saying is that if our problem is storing it, we got a car we're gonna sell, we can take it out to Mr. Henson and he can sit on it for 2 weeks himself before he puts it on, or he can go ahead and put it online ahead of time and pick whatever day he wants to sell it at. But my question is can we use Gov Deals and use Mr. Henson both and then find out where we're getting more money on the two? Or are you comfortable that we'll always get more money out of Gov Deals?
Either way, I can work it either way on the cars or whatever, just items.
Mr. Henson, would you come and get the cars and carry them out to your site, or would it take staff to drive them out there?
We'd come
Or
pick
pull
them
them
up.
out
I have a
there.
3-car hauler and an equipment trailer also, and insured both.
Okay. Any other questions from council? We have a motion and a second.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Is there a time limit on the contract? Is there a reason that we have to settle this today?
The contract expires in May.
It expires in May.
But my question didn't get answered though, is this all-inclusive? Do we have to do everything that we've got with Gov Deals, or we just getting a contract that we can do, whatever we want to send them?
We can change the contract any way you want it to be changed, as long as Gov Deals approves that.
Had Mr. Henson provided this information to you, Ms. White, before this morning?
He has talked to me on several occasions about getting the cars to bring out there, and I have referred him to Chief Campbell. I think the mayor has talked to them. But he knows that we had this contract with Gov Deals, and I spoke to him last week, and he told me he was going to appear today, and I made sure he had the right time.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. White, you spoke as long as Gov Deal approves it, what does that mean?
Well, this contract was a proposal, and we have to get back with them to make sure that if you choose to take the vehicles to Mr. Henson's place, then they will agree with that and let the vehicles go to his place.
And that's what we do for the Dyersburg and just vehicles, but we can handle the smaller stuff too if we need to.
I would just think they would have a problem with that.
They might.
Mr. Henson, with your auctions, I'm assuming, but maybe I'm incorrect in assuming this, were most of the sales local people or
No,
in
we
this-
sell
in
internet to
this-
Virginia, Kentucky. We
So,
have internet bidders that
with
bid
the
day of the
internet,
auction.
with the internet,
And we have local people too, which they can
yeah.
participate in the
Did
sale.
you find that
of
lucrative, the
buying.
internet?
Both of them going together because you either have the internet bidder there as a backup bidder, or he's the bidder that's high bidder, and then you got the local people here that, we sold, just for instance, the equipment place in Humboldt. Nobody in Humboldt even bid on it online. Everything went to Virginia, Kentucky, different places. They all sitting there looking at nice equipment, yet online took it.
Were
We
most
do-
of
we
your
have it both
sales then
ways.
from internet?
Do what, ma'am?
Were most of your sales then through internet?
We have both internet and live at the
Which
same
one?
time.
Okay, but you don't know which one was the more lucrative for you?
One just helps out the other really, because it's gonna boost your price up for the individual there,
Have we made more money off of Gov Deal or off of this?
Ms. Bell, how about you coming up and sharing the revenue versus previous years, if you would?
I don't have all the revenue figures here, but there were several expenses that we incurred. We had overtime, we had tent rentals, we had porta potties, we had concession, but we had several other charges. I will tell you that the automobiles that are being sold on Gov Deal are bringing in quite a bit more. 7% for a $500 vehicle. I think you said your fee was $50. Gov Deal is $35. $1,000 vehicle, their fee would be 70. I think you said yours was 100. So we have brought in more on the vehicles and the larger items.
Okay,
But
thank
you
you.
wouldn't have to worry about the facilities, or taking people out like we done before when the city furnished all the people there. We'll take care of all that.
In those numbers you're looking at though, Karen, are we comparing apples to apples there? Because previously, we were just doing local sales primarily. Now we're doing internet sales, which is kind of different. And if Mr. Henson is offering internet sales as well as local, would we get I guess the real question is, will we get as many hits on Mr. Henson's site as we will at GovDeal's site to?
And that I can't answer because he didn't have internet back when we did it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but he does now, and that's why I would like to see us use both and find out where we're getting more revenue, and then if we get more revenue from Mr. Henson, we can funnel more stuff his way. If we're not, we can go back and use all GovDeals.
And again, as Ms. White has said, it's gonna be up to GovDeals, but I can tell you, they're probably gonna want an all or nothing, because when they sell it in bulk volume, the 7% is based on everything. So, again, I don't know what they would do contractually, but it has been very lucrative for us over the last few years.
Well, but if we're giving them half of it,
They probably won't just take that.
so you're saying you don't think they'll just take, if we say, okay, we're gonna give you half our vehicles and all of our little stuff, or
I don't know.
we don't know that?
I think if we do it that way, we need to put that out in the form of a proposal to make sure that we know what we're voting on before we vote. I'll do whatever the council would like, but I'd like for it to be done consistently to where we know really what we're doing.
From my standpoint, this falls back what I was saying about when we were bidding things earlier. If we can do things locally, I'd rather do them locally, have somebody here local make profit off it than somebody in New York City. But if New York City gets more money from the city, then naturally but I'd like to at least see the options for the two, so.
And the only thing I would say is that GovDeals is the mechanism that we use to sell it. We get all of, the money may be paid to GovDeals in some instances. Most time we collect the money locally.
Oh, I understand
It's
that
not
that we're
someone
getting that
from
money,
out
but
of
I'm just
town
saying
that's
that the
selling.
profit GovDeals is making themselves goes to somewhere else, whereas the profit Mr. Henson makes would go locally here.
We'd also do all the collecting, signing of the titles. All you do is turn the titles over where they've signed off in the past. We fill out to the new buyers and everything, so that would relieve you of any of the titles too. We mail them out certified mail to the buyers.
Okay, council, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion as far as this particular contract? If not, council, please vote.
And that motion passes with 7 in favor, 1 abstaining, and 1 voting no.
Thank you. Item 7 is a presentation by General Manager Jason Compton of the Jackson Generals, including introduction of the new management team and an update on the Jackson Generals. We'll have to get through the agenda. We have one other item that we need to take care of, if you don't mind.
Well, okay.
Okay? Thank you. Jason, would you come on up? Thank you very much. I'll call on you. I promise. I promise I'll call on you. Yeah.
After the vote, though.
Okay.
I wanted that before the vote, but I'll wait until after the vote. It was something on the agenda, but I'll no problem.
Okay. Jason? Okay.
Good morning, Mayor and
Morning.
Council.
Morning.
As the new GM of the Jackson Generals, I just wanted to introduce myself this morning to the council and give a brief update of what's going on at Pringles Park this season, as well as some of the projects that are going on at the park. Again, my name is Jason Compton. I'm from Huntington. Graduated from Huntington High School in 1997. Went to University of Tennessee, Knoxville from 97 through 2001. Graduated with a sport management degree. Interned with the Diamond Jacks in 2000 and hired full-time in 2001. Been at the ballpark for the past 12 seasons, serving as assistant GM since 2008 under Tom Hanson. Being from Huntington, I'm thrilled to be only the 4th GM in organization's history, but I'm even more thrilled to be the first that's actually from West Tennessee. I've truly understand what it means to the region, what Jackson means to the entire region in West Tennessee, but I also understand how important the outlying areas are to Jackson, and in particular, the success of the ball club. We are the smallest double-A team in all of baseball, and if we were a single-A team, we would still be one of the smallest. I don't quite look at it that way. I look at our market size as being 7,000 square miles and over 400,000 people. So that's one of the major objectives that we've got going on right now, is getting out to the outlying areas and getting more excitement and more support there. In addition to my promotion this last January, we have added a few other staff members. Mike Peasley came on board as our Vice President of Sales and Marketing. It's the first time in a number of years that we've actually had a sales director, and we're really going out and really making a lot of efforts there. We brought on Zam Stewart, another local Jackson guy, Liberty grad, another UT grad, as well as Hunter Ellington, another local guy. So we're really getting more people who are from the area on staff and who really understands West Tennessee and Jackson. When I started in 2000, I was in the very small minority of people who are actually from here. Those people that I've worked with over the years might have known baseball, but they didn't necessarily know Jackson and West Tennessee. And I think that's one of the big advantages that we're going to have now moving forward. We do open up on April the 5th. It's our 15th season, which is kind of hard to believe, but we are opening their 15th season a month from yesterday against the Birmingham Barons. We're really looking forward to a great year. We did also bring on one other person on staff this year, Justin Bernhard. We actually hired him away from the Reading Phillies in Reading, Pennsylvania. And if anybody knows a lot about the industry, nobody entertains better than what Reading does. And we were lucky to grab him. To this day, I have not told him anything that we've done promotionally or entertainment-wise in the past. I don't want him to know. It's a clean slate moving forward, because the one thing that we are truly in is entertaining. And it just so happens that a baseball game kind of breaks out in the middle of it. So we're really going to revamp a lot of our entertainment value as well. As far as a few of the projects that are going on, I want to update the council on those, being that they're great help from you guys on getting a lot of these things going. First and foremost, the TIF project that's going on behind the outfield wall. Pringles Park, there's not a better billboard that we could have as an organization than the park itself. Again, the park's 15 years old. It's one of the nicest facilities in all of baseball. But for the past 15 years, the back side of the park saw piles of sand, kudzu, and paint chipping, and wasn't just a welcoming sight to people on I-40 coming into Jackson. So we've really, with the ownership and the support of the council, have moved forward with that TIF project. And if you've driven by, you've seen trees coming down, dirt work going on. We're really going to spruce the backside up with the landscaping. There's going to be a pond with a fountain and a brand new sign that's going up out on I-40 that's got our logo on it, Jackson, Tennessee, Pringles Park, and an LED reader board that we can actually advertise game tonight, fireworks tonight, or whatever the promotion may be. There's also going to be a Mariners logo out there, and interchangeable with the parent team of whoever we're playing, so that the 40,000 cars that pass the park every single day will know that the best players in the world are playing right out here at Pringles Park. It's not just the Generals versus the Barons on opening day, it's the Mariners versus the White Sox, and that's what we're going to portray throughout the season and moving forward with that sign. And it's really going to be a great landmark as a welcome to Jackson, as the first impression people will get on I-40 coming in from Nashville, and it's the last impression that people will get as they head through towards Nashville. We do have a video board project upgrade that's in the works, and want to thank Susan White and Al for all their help on getting all these things rolling, along with the council. The video board will actually be installed. Right now, I think that the way it's going to happen will be the first week of May, so we won't have it in April, but instead of having the old board up, where we talk about a new board and then people come out on opening night and see the old board, I think it'll probably be more of a positive to see that we're actually moving forward. And when that first game in May happens and we have the brand new widescreen board, that'll be a night and day difference from what we've had. Technology has changed quite a bit since 2003, And we're really excited about this. The company that's actually putting the board in has a number of the boards that are in Times Square, as well as all the video boards that were in Lucas Oil Stadium that were showcased during the Super Bowl this year. And we've been told that doesn't matter what time of day it is or how bright the sun is, that you're still going to be able to see the video board regardless. So there's going to be a lot of different things that we're going to be able to do with that, not just for our games, but for all the work that we do with the nonprofits and not-for-profits in town on their events that they hold out the park with the Heart Walk or the Buddy Walk or all those things that we make the park available for. And then lastly, the suite upgrade that's going on is just about completed. Again, I'd like to thank Susan for her help with that process. All the new carpet is in. Walls have all been painted. The suites hadn't been touched since 2003, and they've all been upgraded. And again, would like to encourage each of you guys to use the city suite or any other suite that we have for constituents or anything else that you guys want to bring out during the season and show off just kind of a unique way to watch a game at Pringles Park. And I also welcome each and every one of you guys to come out and sit down with me, share ideas, get a tour of some of the things at the park that we've changed, and I have an open door policy and would love for any of you guys to come out and see the asset that is Pringles Park. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions from council? Jason, thank you guys for what you do. We're excited about the start of this season, especially opening with the Barons, Birmingham, about 20 times the size of Jackson, Tennessee, I may add. So thank you guys for what you do, and we're looking forward to opening night.
Thank you,
There
Mayor.
they are. I think before we go to the next item, if there's no objection from council, I think we may have a couple of people here who would like to address the council on an item under new business. Is there, come on up. If you'd be kind enough just to identify yourself for the record, please.
My name is Sheila Godwin. I had come to the city council meeting, which I don't come very often, but I come to address another issue that when I came, I see it's not on the new business, it's not on the agenda. But while I was here, I wanted to ask the person in regard to, and I didn't see any first or second reading, so I wanted to ask the person in regard to item 4 on the new business, while Ms. White was here at the podium, but you had already voted on it. I wanted to ask the person before the vote, the consideration of contract for the construction of fire station number 7, and it wasn't written what station, but in my mind, I thought of the Windy City Station, which I realized when she came up, that is the station that I wanted to ask the person in regard. You know, I remember some years ago when there was such a passion in here in regard to that station not being built. I guess when I think about that station, I think about the new mill stool that also proposed that everybody wants out. But after, I want to apologize to Mr. Compton because I wasn't trying to interrupt him, but my person really was, I wanted it before the vote. And since I didn't get that, I just, it's all right. I kind of answered. After you set me back there, I realized what the answer was to the question. So I really don't have any questions for you. I'll just wait and see what happens in consideration of the contract. I see evidently that has already been decided on the Walker fire station, and I just have been absent from the body. So with that being said, I don't have anything else to say.
Okay,
have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Come on up. Good morning. If you'd identify yourself for the record,
My name
please.
is Billy Moore, resident of Jackson. My concern is, it's not an agenda, the Common Lounge on 215 West Main Street here in Jackson, Tennessee. It come to the national news due to the multiple shooting inside the business. This business had many altercations at its present location before this latest catastrophe. Yet no city official has spoken a word. The councilman in this district said nothing in the Jackson Police Department, said nothing, neither did the mayor. You had an overly crowded premises regularly. Where was the fire marshal? You have JPD officers outside in the street. How did the shooters who were inside get away? This man's been denied twice before beer permits. Yet in the end, was still allowed, even after the record showed that there was already a shooting at this establishment before. There's been underage children in this establishment continually, fights and shooting regularly. A few citizens even voiced concerns about this place 6 months ago, and it fell on deaf ears. Now there's the John Wayne attitude all of a sudden. So my question to this council is, why did it take a killing for you to listen to what the black community told you about this establishment a long time ago? Now you let Mr. Gardner walk away without holding him responsible. How is that justice for the families? Why was a child in this club? How did the weapons come into the building? Surrounded by police, and who approved the beer license? The city government is just as culpable as Mr. Gardner if the proper procedure was lacking enforcement. So in the conclusion, it is my reason that the man should be brought forward and questioned thoroughly. If not, then something about this exercise is fundamentally wrong. The parent of the murdered child has a right to know what happened. This tragedy has the right to know how this tragedy was allowed. And to let the man walk away would just solidify the hypocrisy that has become the norm of the Jackson City Council. So my question to the council is this: that district, whoever council it is, crime been rampant in that club for the last year. Nobody said a thing about it. Dr. McClure raised concern about this man bringing the bus to his campus, picking up children, taking to that club. Fights over and over again, nothing was done about it. So you had a fire marshal who comes into black establishments regularly to check the number of people going into those establishments. We know this place has been overcrowded constantly. There's been constant fights at this establishment. No nuisance order has been brought forward. And for you to let this man walk away without having his feet held to the fire, it does a disservice to those families and their citizens. Because we want to know, how did these things happen? How did this man get this beer license after being denied twice, Attorney Cobb said? How did the councilman in that district not know of those problems in his district? There's been many police reports. And so for the mayor to come down, you mayor gets to come down hard on other patrons when it was a lack of this city government to enforce the rules that was in place. I think that the council needs to bring this man forward and have a hearing on why these things were allowed to take place. And this catastrophe may not happen again. That were my words to the council this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Come on up. Tony, you mind pulling that chair away so she can have the mic? Thank you.
Good morning to
Morning.
the city council.
Good morning.
And the mayor and everyone who's present here for the meeting. My name is Jeanette J. Merriweather, and I live in District 2, and I moved, been there 2 years, which is the second city councilman for this area anyway. I live on Hale Street. I have reported several times about condemned houses in that area. See, I speak for the people in that area too, because some of them they're not going to speak up for themselves. Because I'm in this wheelchair, so I'm automatically able to see and visual everything in the neighborhood. I appreciate them fixing this street, North Cumberland Street, and by paving it. But there's condemned houses. And these condemned houses, I've been there 2 years, and they're still there. And they haven't anything been done to them. And they asked someone, say, have you asked them to be boarded up? Some will be boarded up, but the boards be taken down. And in the summertime, it's a sitting area for the ones that come out on the porch. And one of the houses on North Cumberland Street at 517, they come and sit on the porch, that vacant house, and drink beer and leave the beer bottles and everything there. The second house that I'm speaking of is up on Hale Street, the one that got burned. It's still there. It's still there. It haven't been boarded, but in the front, but on the side, someone is able to go in and go in the back of the house. And I was one of the reasons why is it's still there. It's still houses, those two houses are there. It's a favoritism for those people who own a house. That's what I want, it's a favoritism for those people. I know who own the houses myself. One of them is a relative. But it's a favoritism for these people to still have those houses there. And on top, I want to say another thing, it's about the cleanup part. If they can go around and pick up trash just on Hale Street, just right on, and then it's up there on Cumberland Street, it's trash, still the same trash. I can go see the same trash week by week. Little, things that people throw out in the street, the same ones. In one house, they condemn on North Cumberland Street, and it's the same shoe. I teased the sanitation man, I said, this shoe is still here. It's been here 3 months on the street. I said, someone is not doing their job. And I guarantee you, if I had to do the job, it would be picked up, the trash would be still on the street, the bottles, same bottles, drinking bottles still on the street. It's been like that. That's all my concern is that clean up of the neighborhood, that's all. Because
Okay.
we're closer to this new area they composing of. Hell, so if somebody can drive over in that area and see those historical houses, but they can't, the street is not clean.
Okay, thank you very much. So if you would touch base with the building department on those residences on Cumberland and Hale, if you would. Okay, let's,
Could I just tell them that they probably got a misconstruction on FEMA? He said 900. We got $1,171,000 for insurance, and we got $650,000 for TDOT to help us pay for the loss on our.
okay, thank you. Item 8 is any budget amendments? Val?
Good morning. We have one budget amendment this month, and it is for the Airport Authority's request that they presented to you last month, asking for $95,000 to match the county request to upgrade runway, and this will be pulled from fund balance.
Move to approve. Have a motion for approval. Second. Discussion. Council, please vote.
The vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Item 9 is consideration of invoices over $10,000.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion. Council, please vote.
The vote is unanimous.
There being no further business, meeting is adjourned.
Ms. Peppers made the motion.
Yeah.